After more than 2 weeks of searching, police say a very specific anonymous tip led detectives back to this abandoned elementary school where they uncovered a shallow grave in the woods with remains that they believe to be those of Kada Scott. Now, the medical examiner, of course, is working to confirm the identity, and investigators are in touch with Scott's family. Now, keep in mind, this is the same location where officers say they found her debit card and phone case last week during that search. Meanwhile, attention is back on 21-year-old Keon King.
She thought she was meeting someone she trusted, but within hours, she vanished. And the anonymous call that finally exposed the truth changed everything. The man now in custody for Kada Scott's disappearance has a troubling past that paints a disturbing picture of escalating behavior. Authorities confirmed that he had previously faced charges in connection with another kidnapping case earlier in the year. In January, despite the gravity of that incident, he was released shortly after posting cash bail, a decision that many are now calling into question. This revelation has stirred outrage in the community. For some, represents a systemic failure at justice system that too often grants second chances to violent offenders while victims pay the ultimate price. Those who knew Kada personally are struggling with the thought that her life might have been spared had earlier warnings been taken more seriously. He should never have been free to walk among us, one neighbor said, echoing a sentiment shared widely across social media platforms. In the past few days, grief, disbelief, and anger have gripped Philadelphia. The city has found itself at the center of a tragedy that feels both personal and preventable. Vigils have been held in Kada's honor, with hundreds gathering to light candles and share memories of her infectious laughter and unwavering kindness. To her friends, Kada was a beacon, someone who made people feel seen, valued, and cared for. She was ambitious, confident, and on the brink of a promising career, a young woman whose potential seemed limitless. Her disappearance initially sent shockwaves through her circle, but the discovery of her remains in an abandoned schoolyard turned fear into devastation. It was a place that had long been forgotten, a crumbling reminder of neglect, and now it stood as the haunting backdrop of a life cut short. That school used to be full of kids, one local resident told reporters. Now it's just emptiness and ghosts. It's almost symbolic how a place meant for learning and hope turned into a crime scene. As news spread, speculation flooded the internet. Armchair detectives dissected every detail, and social media filled with theories, some wild, others painfully plausible. In response, law enforcement held a press briefing to separate fact from fiction, but instead of providing closure, their statements left the public reeling. Officials revealed that Kada did not leave with the suspect willingly, an admission that confirmed the community's worst fears. The details hinted at coercion, manipulation, and premeditation, an act of violence that wasn't random but targeted. Police emphasized that the investigation remained active and complex, and while they had a suspect in custody, they were still piecing together the chain of events that led to Kada's final moments. The accused is now being detained on a $2.5 million bond, a figure that reflects the severity of the allegations and the risk he poses to the community. His preliminary hearing, scheduled for next month, is expected to draw significant public attention. Reporters and citizens alike are waiting to see whether prosecutors will file additional charges, particularly one for homicide, a charge conspicuously absent so far. Behind closed doors, detectives are working tirelessly to build their case. Sources close to the investigation say that forensic evidence is still being analyzed, including DNA samples, cell phone records, and surveillance footage from multiple locations. The timeline of events is being reconstructed minute by minute, as authorities attempt to determine not only how Kada was abducted, but also who else might have been involved. What complicates matters further is the suspect's prior history. Keon King, the 21-year-old now at the center of this storm, is not a stranger to law enforcement. In fact, his name appears in several previous police reports, many involving allegations of harassment, assault, and property crimes. Still, none of those prior incidents led to long-term incarceration. After Kada's remains were officially identified, Keon turned himself in, walking into a police precinct unannounced. His surrender shocked both investigators and the public. During questioning, he admitted to kidnapping Kada, but vehemently denied being responsible for her death. This partial confession has only deepened the mystery and raised pressing questions. If not him, then who? And if he was indeed involved, why stop short of acknowledging the most serious crime? At present, Keon faces charges of arson, conspiracy to commit arson, and vehicle theft, a set of accusations that might seem disconnected from Kada's case at first glance. But investigators suggest that these crimes could be part of a broader pattern of reckless and destructive behavior, a glimpse into the mindset of someone capable of more sinister acts. Observers have been quick to point out that among all the charges currently listed, a homicide count is notably missing. For many, that absence is baffling. To them, the evidence appears overwhelming: a known offender, a victim last seen in his presence, and a chilling trail of digital and physical clues that point squarely to him. Yet police insist that they are moving carefully, ensuring that every piece of evidence will hold up in court. Prosecutors understand the stakes. A premature charge could jeopardize the case, allowing defense attorneys to exploit technicalities. But the delay has fueled public frustration. Online hashtags like #Justice4KADA have surged, with thousands demanding transparency and accountability. "If this was your daughter," one commenter wrote, "would you still be waiting to file murder charges?" Beyond the procedural details, the case has sparked broader conversations about systemic injustice and the vulnerability of Black women in America. Advocates point out that missing Black women often receive less media attention and slower police response times than their white counterparts, a disparity known as missing white woman syndrome. In Kada's case, national media coverage came only after her body was found. Community activists are now urging for policy reform, stronger bail restrictions for repeat violent offenders, increased funding for domestic violence intervention programs, and improved tracking of at-risk individuals with prior convictions. Local leaders have promised to honor Kada's memory by pushing for change, ensuring that her death will not be in vain. For Kada's family, however, no legislation can replace the daughter, sister, and friend they lost. In interviews, her mother has spoken about the unbearable silence in their home, the empty chair at the dinner table, the phone that no longer rings with her daughter's cheerful voice. "She was our light," she said through tears, "and he took that light away." As the case moves forward, each new development is met with both anticipation and sorrow. The image of Kada smiling, vibrant, full of promise now serves as both a symbol of tragedy and a rallying cry for justice. Her story has ignited a movement, demanding that the justice system stop treating violent offenders as if they deserve endless chances. The tragedy of Kada Scott has left an indelible mark on Philadelphia and beyond. It's not just a story about one man's crime, it's a reflection of how easily danger can hide in plain sight, how warnings can be ignored until it's too late, and how justice often arrives only after irreversible loss.
The second case has already been approved, and we expect there to be a new arrest today, in all likelihood, of Keon King when he is brought in from the jail. The arrest will be for burning of a car, arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, several other charges.
Authorities have not yet charged the suspect with a murder count in connection to Kada Scott's death, raising questions about what evidence investigators are still holding back. The hesitation to move forward with that charge suggests that there may be more layers to this story than the public realizes. Recently, police have been receiving anonymous tips, hinting at the presence of a second individual, who may have aided Keon King in carrying out the crime. According to these reports, this alleged accomplice was a close friend of Kada's and was also secretly involved with Keon, sparking theories of a love triangle gone wrong. Could this have been a premeditated betrayal disguised as a moment of trust? When Kada Scott vanished in early October, her family and friends immediately sensed something was off. She wasn't the type to disappear without a trace. Known for her energy, compassion, and bold spirit, Kada was the kind of person who gave kindness even to those who might not have deserved it. One of those people, as it turns out, was Keon King. Their relationship had always been complex, part affection, part tension. What investigators have since confirmed is that the two were still in contact on the very day Kada disappeared. Some of their messages were playful and intimate, but one exchange in particular caught the police's attention. Kada texted Keon, "Kidnap me again," to which he responded, "You better be ready." Just hours after that conversation, Kada was gone. Her disappearance quickly became headline news, but unlike many missing person cases that go unnoticed, Kada's story gained traction not only because she was a young Black woman from Philadelphia, but also because of where she vanished from her workplace at a nursing home. She had clocked out early, unnoticed by staff or cameras, leaving investigators and the public alike wondering how such a disappearance could happen in plain sight.
About this, right? I asked my baby dad, I said, did you hear about this girl missing? He said no. I told him. He was like, well, what makes her case so special? Like, why is she all over the news? Is she a missing person? Now I think about it, like, you right. There's so many missing black girls. Why did she get all this media attention, right? I'm scrolling on TikTok, no bullshit. You really can't make this shit up. And you got to connect the dots. When it's messages, it's for a reason. I'm scrolling on TikTok and I see somebody say, everybody trying to figure out why this girl's missing, why she gets so much media attention when a whole bunch of black girls go missing. It's because she went missing at her fucking job. That is exactly why. You wanna know why? They trying to figure out why the fuck she clocked out.
Weeks slipped by as the search for Kada Scott stretched across Philadelphia. Her family and friends refused to lose hope. Flyers covered every street corner, and police combed neighborhoods tirelessly for 2 long weeks only to meet dead end after dead end. Just as the investigation began to stall, a single anonymous phone call came through, one that would change everything. The caller directed police to H. Lewis Middle School, a vacant building that had already been searched once with no results. But this time, investigators were told to look in the wooded area behind the school. Following that lead, officers made a grim discovery: a shallow grave containing human remains. DNA testing later confirmed what everyone feared. The body belonged to Kada Scott. Her death was ruled a homicide, and the case quickly escalated. Detectives turned their attention to 21-year-old Keon King, already known to law enforcement for a previous kidnapping case involving another woman. Still pending at the time Kada disappeared, phone data placed both Keon and Kada's devices in the same area shortly before her phone went offline. Investigators also uncovered footage of a man matching Keon's description moving a heavy object toward the burial site. Before police could make an arrest, Keon turned himself in, admitting to kidnapping Kada but denying any involvement in her death. Still, the deeper investigators looked, the clearer it became that Keon may not have acted alone. Surveillance footage appeared to show to people near the scene. The second figure, though blurred, seemed to have a feminine build, sparking speculation about an accomplice. Soon after, social media erupted with rumors pointing to a woman named Gabby, who claimed to be one of Keon's friends. She allegedly gave Keon Kada's address, insisting that she thought nothing of it at the time. Gabby later explained that she hadn't contacted the police because she didn't see a reason to. Keon had already surrendered, and she wasn't the type to call the cops. But as the story gained traction, suspicions deepened. A video surfaced showing Gabby wearing Keon's hoodie, and people from Philadelphia who knew her alleged that she had a criminal history similar to his. Even text messages from her mother hinted that Gabby had once been involved with Keon and had trouble with the law. Investigators are now reportedly taking their time before bringing a murder charge against Keon, possibly to determine whether Gabby or another accomplice played a role. If that proves true, the entire case could shift dramatically. The tragedy of Kada Scott's death has struck a painful chord across communities, reverberating far beyond the Philadelphia neighborhood where she lived and worked. Her story has become a rallying cry, a symbol of both heartbreak and resilience, as families across the country confront a truth that has long been ignored. Too many black women go missing, and too few of their stories make it to the headlines. For weeks, local advocates have gathered to honor her memory, holding candlelight vigils and community marches that double as calls for systemic change. Signs reading "Justice for Kada" and "Protect Black Women" line sidewalks and park fences, carried by those who refuse to let her name fade into silence. Speakers at these gatherings often remind crowds that Kada's story is not isolated, it is one thread in a much larger, deeply woven pattern of violence, neglect, and institutional failure. Activists and family members have spoken out about the barriers they faced during the search for Kada. They describe long waiting periods before authorities took her disappearance seriously, media outlets that initially ignored her case, and the heartbreak of realizing that, for many, her life seemed invisible until tragedy struck. It's a pattern that echoes in cities nationwide, where missing black women make up a disproportionate number of unsolved cases, yet their stories rarely receive equal urgency or airtime. In this way, Kada's death has become more than just a case, it's a catalyst for conversation, a painful mirror reflecting how race, gender, and class shape whose lives are protected and whose disappearances go unnoticed. Her name is now spoken alongside others: Rue Alicia Rudd, Metris Richardson, Tamika Houston, young black women whose stories were lost in bureaucratic indifference and societal neglect. The man accused of playing a role in her death, Keon King, represents another grim reality. how icily the system can fail to contain repeat offenders. His record reveals a pattern of violence against women, a history littered with red flags that somehow went unheeded. Despite multiple arrests and pending cases, he was repeatedly released, each time returning to the public with greater confidence that his actions would carry few consequences. Legal experts and community leaders are now asking pointed questions about how this could happen. Why was someone with a clear pattern of abuse and criminal behavior allowed to walk free? Why were bail conditions so lenient? And why must women, particularly women of color, bear the burden of those oversights? Each unanswered question underscores a painful truth. Accountability often arrives too late, and the cost is measured in lives like Kada's. She was only 23 years old, young, driven, and full of dreams that were just beginning to take shape. Friends recall how she wanted to build a career in healthcare, to make a difference in people's lives the way she had always done naturally. Her warmth was magnetic, her laughter contagious. She had this energy, one friend said. When she walked into a room, you felt it. You felt seen. That light, so bright, so full of promise, was extinguished far too soon. For her loved ones, grief now shares space with anger and determination. They are fighting not just for justice in her name but for reform, for a justice system that no longer ignores warning signs or minimizes violence against women until it's too late. Kada's story stands as a heartbreaking reminder that justice delayed is justice denied, that every overlooked report, every missed opportunity to intervene, and every moment of indifference can culminate in tragedy. Behind every statistic is a face, a name, a family forever changed. As the investigation continues and the courtroom waits for answers, one truth endures: the fight for justice does not end with a single arrest or a single verdict. It lives on in the voices demanding change, in the marches through city streets, and in the determination to ensure that Kada Scott's death will not be forgotten nor repeated.